All right, welcome to another video from the chart readers. So this entire video was made by request. If you ever want me to add an individual ticker to one of the videos I'm making, or like this, literally make a brand new video, don't hesitate to ask, because ideally it'll be something that makes us all money, right? ChargePoint, again, I bring that one up often. I legit made some money off ChargePoint, and I was not looking at that thing until a comment said, hey, can you add ChargePoint? So don't hesitate, because hey, it should be good for all of us. Today we're going to review 4 ETFs of the major indices. So why do people do this? So right now I'm going to just kind of quickly, obviously you know what we're going to do if this is your first time. Let me just run through it. We're going to look at the daily and the weekly, looking for some good swings. We're going to use our 5 moving averages. I actually don't have any, so I will be drawing some horizontal support and resistance lines. And then when we're done up here, we'll finish it off with the MACD and the RSI. So QQQ is very similar to the NASDAQ composite, okay? The thing is, one share of the NASDAQ costs $10,475. A lot of people don't even have that much money in their trading accounts, right? So one of the things you can do is invest in something like QQQ, which only costs you $264 a share. And look, if you look at this chart real quick, and then let's look at this chart real quick, you'll see a lot of similarities. Obviously, I have a couple lines here that I drew, right? But notice the 200s up here. There's a nice little gap between the 100 and the 50, and then a nice little gap between the 8 and the 20, okay? Now we're going to do the same thing for QQQ. Look at that. 200 up here, little gap between these two, little gap between these two, and really in the exact same order, right? So again, that's the power of these. You can pay $264 a share and almost, and I stress almost because it's really not 100%, but you can almost ride the up and down of a $10,500 share, right? So it's a really important tool. And look, I'm going to show you the next one real quick before I get into it. So the SP-500, again, this thing costs $37.70, right? Almost $4,000 for one share. Just look at the way that these lines, right, the moving averages are lined up. And then we look at SPY, which is an ETF of the 500. You're literally 10% of the share and the exact same setup, right? So that is the power of these, okay? So that said, let's start looking at these individually, right? So you know, whenever I do the NASDAQ, the S&P, and the Dow Jones, I always take a zoom out before going in, right? So literally, you're gonna see what I do on a bear chart for the major markets. So I'll come out to the monthly is the first thing I'll do, right? And man, there's obviously a lot to talk about even before I start making the lines. There's actually some positive, there's some good stuff here, though it doesn't look great, right? Obviously, look, you can see the power of the lines, right? Generally rides the 8, loses it, but it uses the 20 as a bounce point, right? Completely rides the 8. Once it loses it, all it's doing is trending under, right? So right here is a pretty interesting place. Now, obviously, this right here is the first couple trading days of November. So though this looks pretty extreme, literally, we've only been trading a couple days in November, right? So I'm actually more focused this one than this one. And I'm happy that we did not lose the 50. And we actually didn't lose the 50. You can basically say 2 months in a row, right? So both both September and October, sorry about that, we're able to stay over the 50. I don't like that we're already going under the 50. However, it's still a little early in November, so I'm gonna just, let's see how the weeks play out before I make any assumptions, right? That said, look, RSI is definitely not good. I definitely see the red over the green. And, you know, there's been times when it looked like it wanted to come over and come down. Right here, it looks like it wants to come over. But again, nothing happens until it matters, right? So I don't know if this is going to come down to 200, right? Basically, the 100 moving average. That's very realistic. Excuse me. If the 50 is lost, this becomes the next point, you know what I mean? So even before making any support lines, that's kind of how we use these, right? Once you lose one, once you lose the 20, you're probably coming to the 50. Once you lose the 50, you're probably coming to the 100, right? So with that, let's draw a couple support lines. This is definitely going to be one, the bottom of this guy. I do want to use the top of this guy. And then, I mean, really at this point, there's just kind of these like in-betweens, right? So I'm going to use the top of this one. Again, not entirely perfect, but hey, we care less about perfect and more about close enough. You know, I get really excited when I'm perfect, don't get me wrong, right? But close enough will make and save you plenty of money. So I think this is pretty good. You know what? I'll make a couple up here. My cat is scratching at the door, so I got to let her out. But let me make 2 more lines. I'm going to do this right there. Let's go a little higher. I'm going to go to that right there. You know what? No, I'm going to actually take it up. And I'm going to take it to here. So I'm using this instead of using these two. So I like that. Give me 1 second. Let me open the door to let this cat out. What are you doing? What are you doing? Get out of here. All right. So SQQQ, sorry, not SQQQ, regular QQQ. This is how I would make my major lines. Coming into the weekly, oh my goodness, that's a bad weekly, okay? Oh man, and look, you should be able to see why, right? First off, I'm looking at the 20, okay? The 20 has been a little difficult, right? There was definitely something right here. There was a break right here, but unfortunately the 100 ended up stopping it and just smashed us down. And then what really, really bothers me is we just lost the 200, right? So this full week was a really bad week because we went under this day, right? And we obviously are now under the 8 and under, are we under all of them? 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Yeah, so we're under all 5 on the weekly, which makes me really worried on the daily. Because I always say if your weekly's bad, you're going to have a bunch of bad days, right? So, yeah, at this point, it really seems like, oh man, I got to go back to my weeklies. Where's my next line down? It really seems likely that we'll hit 250 on QQQ. From there, really, maybe this point right here could be a good saver, this 234. Otherwise, I still like my 2 monthly lines for now. That's a real bad weekly RSI too. 30 is generally the low point. I always say RSI is between 80 and 30. So hey, hopefully it's gonna bounce and kind of try to make its way up. But if I just zoom out a little bit, you know, it really hasn't even been much lower than 30. So yeah, we better not lose 30 even right here. It's hit 25. Actually looks like down here was 25 as well. I didn't even notice that. So yeah, there's still a chance QQQ goes down. I do see 250 being pretty realistic. And look, again, NASDAQ's not doing very well, so that should make sense here. So S&P 500 is kind of been in the middle, right? Not quite horrible, but definitely not as bad. And look, we see it on the monthly, right? We're definitely not under the 50. I like seeing that. We're under the 8, which is not great. And really, we've been under the 8 for a while, right? But look at that RSI. This is actually looking a little better than we saw on the NASDAQ, right? It still looks like red is on top of green, but hey, again, it's definitely a little bit closer, right? There was a bounce on the 50 and a much nicer bounce on the 50. That said, a lot of the same comments are said, right? If we lose the 50, this is going to come down to the 100. If we can break the 8, hopefully this will go up to the 50, right? So like we did, I'll make a couple lines here based off of the monthly, and then we'll just kind of review from there. That's pretty good right there. Take the top of that right there. I'm not going to lie. I think that's all I need to draw because really I have the 50, I have this, I have the 100, I have this, and I have the 200. So I like that for my monthly view. Let's take a look into the weekly. I might have to make a couple more lines. So this is an interesting weekly, right? We're definitely above the 200. On QQQ, we were not. We're also above the 8, which is good. But again, you kind of see the 20. And it was the same thing we saw on QQQ. This actually broke the 100 here. Didn't break the 50, though. Came down. And really what I'm seeing is the formation of a cluster. We're kind of going up, down. Hey, maybe we'll come back up. And just kind of trade horizontally in what looks like a cluster of 5 right here. But that's not a good RSI. Again, I like the RSI more than the MACD. So this makes me feel like weekly it's not going to be good, which means the daily probably is not going to be great. And look, this is not a great daily by any means, right? We're under the 8. You know, rule number 1 is stay over the 8, right? From there, we're under 4 of the 5. Hey, hopefully this 20 can bounce us, right? It definitely looked like we were going to lose it. Kind of this miracle out of nowhere on Friday, really. But yeah, we cannot lose the 20, and really this needs to get over the 8 and the 50, right? Obviously it needs to get over the 100, but man, I don't like being under the 8. That's simply rule number 1, right? I'm going to make a couple more lines right here because like I said, I was using some moving averages on the monthly. So I'll put one right there. I'll put one right there. And then again, we obviously have the line, but I'll put one right there. So that's pretty good. Let me zoom out to the weekly. Yeah, so I think that's actually a pretty good distribution. What's the 200 sitting at? So 360. I think between this 365 and this 360 200 line, that seems like the next place. And really don't want to go much lower than 260 because that's when we lose the 200 on the weekly, right? So again, S&P, NASDAQ's been the worst. That's why QQQ was the worst. S&P 500's kind of been in the middle, and that's why SPY was in the middle. And then looking at DIA, you can see it right here. The Dow Jones has been the strongest, so you know DIA has to be the strongest. And look, one more time, DJ30, right? Dow Jones Industrial. This is sitting right up here. This is the 8 right here, and then these are the other 3. And again, this is a $32,400 for one share, right? This right here, DIA, which looks exactly identical, right? The exact same moving average setup is only $300. This is almost 1%, right? So again, a lot of people don't have 30 grand in their entire account, let alone the ability to put 30 grand on a single ticker, right? So these ETFs are really powerful to put your money in a vehicle that everyone knows always goes up long term, right? Like if you got kids, put 200 bucks in any of these, right? Like that's the game, and you know that thing will add up in 30, 50 years, right? But again, I'm not here to talk about that. I'm here to talk about swings, right? And look, one more time, Dow Jones has been the strongest. The DIA looks identical. We're sitting right at the 2. This is the only one that broke the 200 and actually showed confirmation, right? Now, it's not good confirmation because, again, for me, confirmation means actually going above the previous day candle, right? This right here is actually somewhat good confirmation because we don't lose 50% and we don't lose the 200. But again, I want to be up here. The following day loses this entire day. Even though it's over the 200, it loses this entire day, which I don't like. And then clearly we go down. However, again, it's trying to do this get over the 200. And I've said it on my major market videos. All 3 are going to want to do the same thing. They're either all going to crash together or they're all going to just recover together, right? And right now they're literally at the almost exact opposite point of that, where the Dow Jones is on the top, S&P's in the middle, and the NASDAQ's at the bottom, right? And it kind of goes with this, everything has this cluster of moving averages setting up, right? So I foresee a good amount of horizontal trading until something happens, right? So, and hey, sometimes horizontal is like a little up and a little down, but ultimately I think we're all just waiting for this move, right? It's either gonna recover or it's not, right? Trading horizontally is not really where you want your money to be, unless you're a day trader and you have your finger on the mouse, right? Like I got a full-time job, so I can barely do that. That said, let's do one more time, right? Let's go to the monthly. Let's make some lines. And again, we're over the 50. We're actually over the 8 on both months, right? Last month we did it. So far, so good. The beginning of this, we actually have green over red, and it kind of looks like the green wants to keep going, right? So it's just really funny to see the differences in the three market. And literally, it's so polar opposite of them, right? So let's do this and this. Oh, sorry about that. That's pretty good. So we have this. I think I'm okay with that. I can probably put one here, but yeah, that's way too close. And I can probably put one here. Then again, that's pretty much that. Yeah, I think that's good for the monthly. Let's take a look at the weekly. Oh man, you know I like the RSI more. I realize that the MACD is looking nicer, but I wish the RSI was doing this. We do have a cluster right here, and man, look at the strength of that. Just 4 strong weeks, breaking the 200, the 8, and the 20, right? Man, if you can get over this, that would be pretty magical in all honesty, right? But again, you can kind of see this just slower curve, and it looks like the 50 might be the main line guiding it down. But hey, if things keep curving up, it's a little choppier than ideal. It really is. Let me make a couple lines, I think on the daily. You know, there's actually a good few lines we can make here. Let's throw one from here. Oh, and that's actually exactly where we're sitting. Look at that. Oh shit, what happened? Oh, okay, damn, there was a... Okay, look at that. That's 2020, I'm sure. Yeah, okay, so there's obviously some lines to be made there. And then there is one more to be made. Yeah, I'm going to use this guy right there. Okay, cool. Again, Dow Jones is going to be the strength of these, right? I'm taking a little too much time because I'm obviously doing this for the first time too, so sorry about that. But yeah, if we can break the 200, we should run to 340. However, just look, couldn't break it, couldn't break it, couldn't break it. Can it break it? Because this might be the 4th attempt, really. 1, 2, 3, 4. Really, you can almost even say 5 here, right? But let's just kind of talk about these immediate ones. Generally, they break on 4 or 5, but again, the RSI is also a little high on the daily. I would have wanted it to be a little closer to 50 so that it could do the upswing up, right? So, hey, maybe it'll come down here, use a little that time to reset to hopefully 50 and then make another boom, right? But yeah, gotta break the 200 for sure, and then hopefully that brings up the other ones. The last one on the list is for the Russell, the IWM. So I'll be honest, I really don't talk about the Russell at all. I might start doing that on my majors, but look, really, this looks a lot like the S&P if I had to say, right? Not quite below in this bottom realm, definitely not up here like the Dow Jones was, right? Or the DIA in this case, right? Let's do the exact, oops, that's the weekly, sorry about that. Let's do the same thing. We're going to come to the monthly. All right. So again, not under the 50. Definitely a lot of moments where it looked like it was going to lose the 50. It actually, did it break the, yeah, it did. It broke the 8. Let me make sure actually. So it closed at 183, and yeah, the 8 was at 182. So it did break the 8. But again, right now, only a couple days trading. I think it's a little too early to talk about the November candle, but under the 8, which is not good, right? But nonetheless, let's make some early lines. And again, you can see it, right? There's some pretty good lines already set. I think the only one I'm probably going to do is, yeah, on the top of this and put something in the middle of that. So we have these lines here. Let's come to the weekly. Yeah, again, weekly, you can see it, right? Let's stay over the 8. Let's get over this cluster. Right here, there's 2. There's the 20 and the 200. So let's get over this and go to the 50. However, that's not looking great. So it kind of makes me feel like we might come down to the 8, right? And then looking at the daily, again, look, under the 8 for 3 days. Definitely couldn't get over the 100 here, and such a doji. I don't talk about shapes too often, but look, someone thought it was going to crash. Someone thought it might break the 100, kind of ended under, not kind of, it did end under, right? So a lot of indecision here, an ugly RSI, and it kind of feels like we might be coming to this 175 range, right? But let me make a couple shorter term lines here just to have them. I'll put one right there. We'll definitely put one right, oops, a little higher, right there. And then again, the moving averages are pretty much it right there. So a little longer than ideal on my video, but again, the next one will be quicker because I obviously had to make a lot of new stuff and kind of explain things a little more. But one more time, never hesitate to either ask for individual tickers or brand new videos. Hopefully they're good and they make us all money, right? Hey, have a great one.